Hi, I'm Jim Nicas from the Castle Restaurant in Leicester, Massachusetts.
And I'm Pete Swanson, and welcome to another episode of Stories from WineCountry.com, where every bottle has a story and every glass begins a new chapter. So where are we doing, Jim?
This is a great chapter. It's kind of history for me. It involves a great deal of my family and many friends. There are a lot of sidebars. It is all focused on Domaine Laurier, a small little winery that was in Green Valley in Sonoma County. To just take you on a quick sidebar, my youngest daughter's name is Laurier, and she was named after the winery. Kind of kitschy, I know, but we did fall in love with the wine, the winery, the people, and the story actually begins in New York City. A friend who owned a restaurant underneath the Brooklyn Bridge, the River Cafe, worked with this gentleman for a number of years, and he opened this restaurant to kind of fame and fortune, and I was with my wife, and it was probably late 79, 80, probably 80, and we were having dinner at this gentleman's restaurant. We were looking for a bottle of wine. You know, I had been in the trade in a number of years. I could probably have handled that, but you always would ask the proprietor of a restaurant what he would suggest. He suggested a Domaine Laurier Pinot Noir. Go ahead, let's try it. And it was, I think, a 1978 vintage. One of the most dramatic and stellar Pinots that I had tasted in a number of years. It shocked me, and my wife and I were enjoying it and dinner, and we made the comment that we should just make the trip to California and search out this winery, because it was not available in this state, in Massachusetts. It was in New York, but not in Massachusetts. So, and besides, we loved the name, and we had an older child who was at that point about 4 or 5 years old, and just a wonderful young lady, but a handful. And we weren't really planning on another child, but if we did, we decided we'd name it Laurier. If it was a girl, although it is a masculine form of laurel, or but it did kind of fit with our profile, because Laurier is the crowning wreath in victory, and our last name, Nicas, is short for Nica, which is victory in Greek. Wow. So my children were named Victory, Victory. I don't know if it was a liability for them or a positive enforcement, but they're doing okay. Anyway, to get back to the thrust of the story, we did have a great dinner and a great bottle of wine, and we decided that that's late summer, early fall, we were going to visit California. And so I believe it was 1980. We searched out a number of wineries. Green Valley is a lovely, lovely part of Sonoma. Very rural. Wineries like Iron Horse and Dellinger, they're really, a perfect location. Well, we did find this very difficult to find, but a small little winery, didn't do public tours and didn't make a lot of wine, but quality wine. So we searched them out, and at this trip we did bring our oldest daughter, Nicole, to California, and we get to the winery. Didn't seem to be anyone there. It was a late afternoon appointment, so everything was pretty much shut down. My wife decided that she would stay in the car with my daughter. It was 100 plus degrees out in Sonoma County, and it was warm, so, being professional, you were dressed, not a jacket and tie, but a tie and shirt. And so they stayed in the air conditioning. I went searching for someone in the winery. A sprawling facility of old buildings and catwalks leading to different parts of the winery. Couldn't get an answer anywhere. Searching, about 10 minutes, stumbled in an office, one gentleman behind the desk, and introduced myself and told him I had an appointment. And extended his hand, introduced himself as the winemaker, and his name was Stephen Test. And there was something of a bond almost immediately. Not that we had a great deal of contact, over the years, but a relative amount. The winery, unfortunately, is no longer there, and that will be kind of another story, or another piece to this story. But we sat and we tasted a couple of things, and he was going to take me up to the house and introduce me to the owners of the vineyard. And the house was adjacent, but set up on a plateau. And we talked for a little while and tasted a couple of things, and then it dawned on me. I left my wife and daughter in the car as I was trying to explain to him that I had to go and get them, and so maybe you should have a shot of Jack Daniels before you go. It's like, I think I could pass on that one. And as I turned, my wife and daughter were coming into the room. I apologized, explained the situation the best that I could. It was like, okay, sorry. And we all went to the house and met the owners, Jacob and Barbara Shiloh. And the Shilohs were really wonderful people. Diverse backgrounds, not in the winemaking trade as a rule, so they relied pretty heavily on Stephen and his staff. Tremendous wine. We again bonded very kind of almost immediately, and they became kind of a pet project of mine to see their wine kind of grow and expand. But they were incredible people. Barbara was an accomplished painter and artist, and Jacob, he was in Israeli security for a number of years, and decided they all wanted to kind of change their lives and get into this little vineyard operation, and really we're making spectacular wine. Let's just, a quick sidebar is that his best man started a winery in the Golan Heights. He sent Stephen, who was a hands-on type of guy, kind of a cowboy, but a real nice guy. He sent him to the winery on their first vintage to advise them. Of course, I can relate to it because I could never do it myself, be a hands-off advisor. He had to, because it was a kosher winery, he had to stand with his hands in his pockets and not touch or do anything. And it I think almost killed him, but they did and have made great wine since, and that was, I think, the only time that they did send Stephen. So Domaine Laurier became a pet project. Unfortunately, life goes on, people pass, and the story did take a little twist and turn where Domaine Laurier functioned as a great winery for a number of years, finally had to be sold. In the sale, the name was changed to Laurier, and the wine was not quite as vibrant as I can remember Domaine Laurier being. It was, another quick sidebar is that if you remember Two Buck Chuck, well, that Chardonnay in the first vintage was a lot of Domaine Laurier juice.
Wow.
But again, it's, to carry this from one step, Stephen, with the sale of the winery, went to Stone Street, which was a Jess Jackson property. Don Hartford is Jess Jackson's son-in-law, I believe how that goes. So the wine industry is a small pool of really profile people that seem to always resurface in kind of different lights. So Stone Street, and whether it's because of Stephen Test or other reasons, I've always liked their wines. Although Stephen's not there any longer, the philosophy behind that winemaking is still there.
What do you think was his gift, Stephen's gift, in terms of?
He extracted the best from the vineyards, and with his expertise in the winemaking end of it, could take that pristine product and develop it into a wine that had accessibility and longevity, and lots of flavor. For me, anytime someone can take raw product that is incredible quality and use their expertise to mold and develop that into something that's accessible and interesting to consume, but also has some time to develop. That's an art that in a lot of respects you can't even begin to fathom if you haven't seen it. And I'm still in touch with some of the people from Domaine Laurier, and it's still a brand that I have great love and respect for, not only because my child is named for it, but because the wine was great, the people were incredible. The stories are just, they're kind of timeless. These people are really kind of part of the fabric of wine, and that's really the whole thrust of what we're talking about today, is that this isn't just glass with wine inside. It's someone's kind of life history, their lifeblood, and the people that they meet and touch throughout their lives. It's amazing. I mean, we go on and they had a lovely little pool, and my 5-year-old daughter was swimming in the pool and being up until 2 and 3 in the morning, drinking port after a great dinner, and talking about everything under the sun that had relevance at that point in time in the early 80s, and it became more than just a beverage. It became part of your fabric of life.
Let me ask you a couple questions here. First of all, what was it about the original Pinot that kind of made you go, oh wow?
I'm going to tell you the balance, the structure, the vibrancy of fruit, but the acidity to carry that fruit and give you an idea that it was ageable for a few years, but it was drinkable right now and then. And the balance that it had with food, it was very Burgundian in style, which no West Coast winemaker wants to tell you that they want to make Burgundy, and rightfully they shouldn't. I think they make just damn good wine anyway. But it had all the classic appeal of California fruit and Pinot Noir, and the balance that an older Burgundy will have.
Well, here we are in 2016. You also obviously took a position in this wine. You just decided that it was something you wanted to invest in?
Yes, I did, and I don't have a great deal left, except in my own cellar I have some larger format bottles that we will drink at some point with the whole family. We're kind of waiting to get everyone together at this point. But yes, this is a 1983 Cabernet that might be a few bottles left, but it's absolutely stellar now. Will it go that much further? Probably another 3 or 4 or 5 years. I won't have any by that point in time, but yes, I did take a position because I honestly feel that when you love something, when you like a wine that much, that it doesn't matter what or where or how, you will sell that wine.
And so, back in that time, was the late 70s, early 80s? What was different about the wine industry back then?
Well, most wineries were on a 5-year release plan. So if they made this in 1983, they were releasing this somewhere just before 1988. It was really a fledgling industry. It hadn't developed all the glitz and glamour, although there were, a soap opera, designed after Napa Valley, and but it it was still that whole growth process that Napa was a little ahead of Sonoma, but it was that growth process of seeing an industry kind of take off.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember what you had for dinner for that night and how it went together? What was it?
No, I wish I did remember it. I'm having some difficulty remembering yesterday, and 36 years ago is might be a little difficult.
Does that happen very often though? When you taste the wine, you say, "Oh, I have to pursue this. I have to go find this winery."
It does. Again, at the early levels in the late 70s, early 80s, these wineries were just beginning to blossom, and they were looking for markets. So it was a great time to be part of that industry, because you were on the ground floor. You were at the base level of a fledgling industry, and meeting icons like Stephen and Jess Jackson and Jack Cakebread, Dan Duckhorn. These people were really, and if I forgot anyone, please excuse me, because I'll hear about it, I'm sure. They're all gentlemen. They're all old friends.
So lastly, your daughter, her name is from this winery. Does she try it out? Does she like it?
Oh yeah. We all fell in love with the wine of the winery. We all have little bits. The restaurant owns very little now. I have some larger format bottles that were given to us in some of the '85 vintage in commemoration of her birth. And we will we'll all enjoy those. We have enjoyed some. We'll all enjoy some of the bigger ones when we all get together.
That's a great story. Thanks.
Well, thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.